Hey Matthew, how you doing? I've got your work up here, and I'm very interested in your writing. Got your work up right here, so we'll take a look at that in 1 second. But I just want to get this in the window to prepare for that. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and jump over to the writing. A few things I want to address here. Okay, still tweaking my logo. Yeah, you probably will be for the next couple weeks. Just keep in mind that when you do finalize your logo, if you have another logo that you're using in your other collateral pieces like the resume, just remember to replace that. Use that as a placeholder logo, and then when you're done with this one, just go ahead and replace that in the other collateral materials. Okay, listen, Matthew, I'm going to try your last name. And if I hack it, please forgive me. I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm going to go with Iazamani. And again, please forgive me if I've hacked your last name, but let me know if that's correct pronunciation. At any rate, followed by design is my main text. I'm going to think about the functional message. I change my main text to my full name, Matthew Iazamani. And I would do that, definitely. I think that's good, and we'll address that when we look at the logo. Followed by graphic design, web design. Excellent. Let me see that. Yes, graphic design, web design. Excellent. Okay, I decided to go with the monogram for my visual. Great, great choice. I wanted to keep the visual simple and legible, but I'm only concerned to change my text because the letters are monogram. This is a problem. This is a big problem. Your monogram says ID, but your name is Matthew Iazamani. So that's definitely a problem. We'll talk about that again in 1 second. Design was because of the confusion. Then I changed the letters of my monogram. I love the balance of the IND. And listen, one little tip here, and it's an old design proverb, and it goes like this: don't ever fall in love with anything in design, okay? Because first of all, it's not about what we love or what we like. It's about what works. And the second thing is, inevitably, you present work to a creative director, an art director, or even a client, and you present 5 different versions, and you love the third one. You can rest assured they're never going to pick the one you love. So it's just a great idea to just do not fall in love with your work. So I might end up compromising on my text again for my typeface. And with Futura, I think Futura is a great typeface. As a matter of fact, I use Futura in my designer's logo. And again, I'll talk about that in a second. There's just one little thing I want you to keep in mind with Futura, and we'll talk about that in a second. Regular font. Bottom typeface with DIN, and that's good too. I think DIN's a great typeface. Wanted some contrast between the text. I made the bottom all lowercase for my main. Okay, this part, I made the bottom all lowercase for my main text name. I also put a heavier stroke on my last name to add some contrast. I don't see that here. I don't see that. I don't see any. You know what? Boy, if it is, it's so subtle, but I'm not seeing it. Looking at the A's, I'm comparing the A's, and I'm just, oh, wait a second. I do see it. Okay, it's so subtle. As a matter of fact, it would probably be easier. Yeah, it's so subtle, but I don't recommend doing that. Yeah, it's really subtle. I don't recommend stroking letter forms ever. And let me just give you a really quick little lesson in why we don't stroke letter forms. So when you add a stroke to a letter form, most software gives you a choice of placing the stroke on the contour line, on the inside of the contour line, or on the outside of the contour line. If it's on the inside of the contour line, it's going to reduce the space, the stroke, specifically if it's color. It'll reduce the interior stroke size. Okay, that's a problem. If it's on the outside of the contour line, it's going to affect the negative space or the counter space associated with the neighboring letters. And it's going to really throw off the negative space that the original designer of the typeface intended. Okay, if it's in the middle, it's going to be a combination of both. And so in a nutshell, stroking letter forms actually changes the shapes of the letters, changes the mechanics of the letters, and it's something that professional designers stay away from at all costs. I haven't stroked letter forms in 30 years, and I won't. Very, very rarely will I do it. Sometimes in motion graphics, but never in print. Even if the client requests, I always talk them out of it. A superior technique to stroke, and most people stroke to make more visible. A superior technique here, if you want the contrast between the two names is to add a different style of this. If this comes in a bold style or a black style, that would be preferable. I don't see a benefit of adding contrast to the last name. Okay, back to the writing. Black and white. Okay, black and white. That's a choice. That's your choice. It sometimes black and white tends to look a little bit stark, specifically on a letterhead and even a business card. So, I mean, I'm all for a minimal use of color. I think logos should not use several colors. I think one or a combination of one or two colors. I wouldn't go color heavy, but just think about that in black. And when you place your logo on letterheads and business cards, you'll see what I mean. It tends to look a little bit stark. And if that's the look you're going for, that's beautiful. Your choice there, right? I feel like I think the oversized monogram a little bit too much. We'll talk about that too. All right, so I just want to make sure we got everything. All right, so I think mechanically it's gorgeous. Really nice job. Again, MI instead of ID. Okay, MI. See if you can do, you can try to do something creative and interesting with it. I think a basic monogram, and my designer's logo that I've been using for many, 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 many years is a simple monogram in a circle, and I use a Futura typeface. So it's somewhat similar to this. It's very functional, it's very simple, it's very memorable, and it works for me. So I think the setup is great. Okay. One thing I would recommend is this: when you change your monogram to MI, you're going to notice something about Futura that is actually, my monogram. I use a Bauhaus for the monogram, and then Futura for the name. One thing you're going to notice if you use Futura for the monogram is Futura's got these really, really, really sharp the tops of the letters, specifically the M's, the bottoms of the W's. There's some very, very, very sharp angles in Futura, and some people, I mean, it may be problematic a little bit sometimes when you get up here and start assembling that with the M and the I. So I think if you stick with a typeface that might, try Universe. It's a little bit got more squared off. The M is a little more squared off. So try Universe. Try some different typefaces if you're not crazy about the look of those really super sharp apexes and baseline. That's actually called a crotch right there. So if you're not happy with those super sharp elements, consider changing your typeface. Okay. Other than that, I think it's really a great start. So you have a little bit of work to do, and I'll tell you what: if you want to keep working and run something by me, I'm more than glad to provide additional comments. So if you want to post it right in this forum, that's fantastic. Or if you move into next week working on it, just post it right in the general questions area of the discussion board. Don't email me, because I think it would benefit the other classmates if they were to be able to see the exchange in the general questions area, which quite a few students do check into that area quite regularly. Okay, so my only other thing I want to talk about really is the spatial relationships. And to do that, we're going to come down here, and this is a trick that I use all the time, is we're going to reduce the size to see what it looks like. Okay, right now we're seeing that ID is really very, very large. I would reduce that size in relationship to the name, not much, just a little bit, and then increase the graphic design, web design. Because you can see right now at this size, graphic design, web design is almost impossible to read, while ID is really large, and Matthew Yazamani is definitely legible at that size. So think about that and try that test. Try zooming out to see how it looks. And then just a little bit, maybe a couple of point sizes, maybe 1 point size increase there. And then just decrease the monogram just a little bit. Okay. One other thing you might consider doing is just to see, or even an alternative logo style, is to present the monogram on the left, then your name, and then discipline there. So food for thought, right? All right, great job. Thank you so much. Almost 10 minutes. I didn't mean to do that, but I wanted to be as thorough as possible. So, all right, any questions at all, please let me know. Thank you, Matthew.